Hey everybody, Tommy again. Last time we learned that to glorify God, we needed to obey God's law. But my question is, what is in God's law? What am I supposed to do?
Well, Tommy, to follow God's law, we need to love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, our entire being, in perfect obedience with His commands. You might ask, well, can anybody have perfect obedience? Well, that's a great question, but we'll answer that later. For now, know that perfect obedience in His commands and the way we love God and our neighbor is what's required.
Gee, thanks. Can we go over the answer one more time?
So our question today was, what does the law of God require? And the answer, that we love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love our neighbor as ourselves. And our verse today is Matthew 22, 37-40. And Jesus said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And the second is like it, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law and the prophets." All right, since we know that, let's sing a song together.
When you ask, what does the law of God require? The short answer is perfect obedience. Now that sounds daunting, but we have to understand the context in which the law was given. It was given in the context of grace, God's saving initiative. God rescued Israel from Egypt first, then brought them to Sinai and declared, "If you obey my voice and keep my covenant," essentially he said, "I will be your God and you will be my children." So that's the context of the law. And the perfect obedience that the law demands, it is a response to God's saving initiative. And it is a wholehearted devotion. The way that the Old Testament puts it is love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your strength. So the context is one of a response of wholehearted devotion to the God who saved. It is a response of faith that is called love. And that love flows to love of neighbor as well. Now the problem under the Old Covenant was that the people of God could not obey. But the good news was that there was a covenant that was promised that would be new. And in this covenant, God promised that He would circumcise the hearts of the people. In other words, in Jeremiah 31, God says that He would write the law on their hearts. In Ezekiel chapter 36, God further explains, and He says, I will take the heart of stone from you and replace it with a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit in you and cause you to walk in my ways. So the good news of the gospel is that under the new covenant that Jesus inaugurated, we are empowered to obey God's law. So when we think about the commands of God don't establish our relationship with God. Obedience is our response to God. It is a loving response of faith. God has saved us in Jesus Christ, and we respond by trusting Him in loving obedience.